thinking you got your asses handed to you. Thinking you got your asses handed to you about aliens coming and wanting war. Like they would pay attention to us. If they are higher beings, this is Pink Cloud of course, if they are higher beings, aliens, when did they come before? And what start war? Let me know. Give me a historical record of these aliens coming down for war. Because I sure haven't seen it. Because of what I've seen, it's hardly a matter of higher beings, right? If they're higher beings, they're gonna waste their time on Earth to hurt us when we kill each other? Higher beings? Explain to me how that's a higher being mentality. To destroy others. See, that's what we do. We dissect. Or a lot of people do. See, because we're conglomerated into what the majority of people will do in an instinct. But those instincts are very different from real instincts. Those instincts are instinctual based on the society and civilization before we were around, before the civilization and democracy and so on and so forth. The conglomerated view was around. We weren't hounds of hell going after Dracula. We weren't, in the streets running after Frankenstein. That's the whole point of this. If they are higher beings and we get our asses handed to us, it won't be because of higher beings. It'll be because of ourselves. It'll be because of the Earth giving up on us. That's why a lot of people say global warming, global warming. No, it's not. It's global giving up. Global mourning is more like it. The Earth is just so much a settlement. It's a settlement that we've agreed on to take care of. Putting concrete slabs over it doesn't really protect it, doesn't really help it. Hurts it even more. Feel the Earth right now and it ain't happy. Certain parts are, but happy frappy doesn't mean happy. It doesn't mean everything is turning into gee whiz, everything's fine. That's why it comes down to, oh yes, they're higher beings, they're higher beings. Higher beings? Higher beings are going to destroy us? What's the point? It's not going to change our minds. But the ultimate thing isn't that though. If these are higher beings, they're going to waste their time doing the want and destruction that we do? Explain to me how that's a higher being then. Explain to me that a higher being in our description, because we're basing it off of the philosophies that we have about war, about love, about the concrete image of what we've created. How can that be the same for aliens? How can it be the same for some other species? It isn't the same for dogs. It isn't the same for a lot of animals that are on this earth. So to have the same mentality come above us in any form, why would that happen? We don't even have species on this earth that are like us. Mentally. Physically. Creating guns. Break into the grain. Though you have to be brain dead to be placed inside any frame. See, because that's what the higher being talks about, supposedly. Because to break into the grain of anything, you have to be brain dead to be placed inside any frame. Meaning you have to be brain dead to have the encompassing view of everybody else. Because if you're not going to be inside any frame. The only frame you'll be in is you'll be framed. You'll be a patsy. You'll be placed inside a category that's going to be placed on us all later on. Because if we start not accepting people's views now, it means later on those people are going to be killed. And it's happened before in history, and to say it's rock solid that we've ended slavery. No, we haven't. We're taking low-wage jobs even lower now. So we've accepted slavery for everyone. We've accepted slavery for everyone. We already have, that's the whole point. Back then, discrimination, oh my God, it was easy targeting. Meaning it was easy to understand. Now anybody could discriminate, cross-discriminate. That's what people say, there's no such thing as reverse racism. Well, there doesn't need to be. Discrimination can go full fraught. As I said earlier, if you're a lazy person and you see somebody working hard, you're going to destroy them. Because you're lazy. You don't want to be seen as bad. That's the difference. Back then, you didn't have the opportunity to do that. You were bad because of your color. You weren't bad because you were a good worker. There you go. There's the big difference now. You're bad because you're a good worker. Because you could get up in the company. with actually working instead of, hassling with talking with management and everything or sucking their dicks. Nah, you don't got that problem. You're working hard. You're gonna get the big pay because you're working hard. No, we don't want anybody like that on top. We want somebody who's lazy, who would stab anybody in the back. That's the kind of people we need in charge. Supposedly. The brain dead. That's what I call it. Because that's the only way you're going to get it. The assimilation method. Assimilation is all built in their brains. So wanting, that's all in the minds and hearts. When love is all that should be. Because assimilation creates that kind of thing, like, oh, I want this stuff, but the thing is, you don't want from others, meaning you don't want that kind of love and aspiration of inspiration from everybody. You just want a TV, you just want a DVD, you just want some CDs, you just want a movie, you want a huge flat screen TV. That's what you want. You don't want everybody else to have this energetic crescendo for human interaction. No, you just want the guitar. You just want a new cell phone every 6 months. That's all. That's all you want. It's easier that way. Instead of asking people to change, I'm just keep on staying the same. There you go. And that's why nobody else changes, because you don't. A lot of people say, oh, there's no way to change the world. The give it up. It's not even give up mentality. Okay, the rest of the world won't change, but that means you can't either. Here I am. 26 years old, I've changed so damn much. And I'm happy to. I'm proud to. Because I have a big abundance to give. And I don't care if it's taken literally in the same impact that I talked about the other time. A lot of people who see positive energy attack it with negative because they don't understand it. They don't understand how somebody could not just want a new cell phone. Not just want the latest gadget. They don't understand that. No, this guy doesn't make sense here. This person doesn't make sense here. They don't want this. They want me. They want me. Huh? What do I got? I'm not like a computer. I'm not like a new cell phone. Oh, Jesus Christ, what do I do with this? Oh, attack with negative energy. That'll do it. And that's the whole point of assimilation. It's built into the brains so that wanting and wanted doesn't have to do with anything about love. It just has to do with what you want in your minds and hearts of things. Because things are people to you. That's why a lot of people defend the banks and corporations, because they've been around longer than a human being has survived. So, to have love for a human, no thanks. We're going to have a love for Sony. There you go. I like Sony products or something like that. That's all you need to do. Don't need to worry about anything else. And it's hard for many to use their real independence. That's why people label others or themselves. It's a part of society you want. Yet, you badmouth it or call it your destiny, fate, to use yourself to sandwich in the middle. It all works against you in the end because you never really can climb over it to be yourself. So, like, when people say, like, oh, it's destiny, they're just trying to show that they don't have to do anything else in their lives, that they could just stay in that same thought. The psychology of themselves is to sit down. Fate, another one, another great one that I've heard so many times. Fate. I got no problem with fate. I actually have a good understanding of what it really means. It truly means you do have control over fate. But the thing is, you don't have control over fate if you keep on thinking that you do. If you keep on thinking that you don't have control when fate's there. Because a lot of people look at it like Neo and the Matrix and all that stuff that we grew up with. And even I don't. Because the Matrix trilogy, all three of them, showed a completely different message than just the first movie. That's why a lot of people didn't like the second and third one. Because it finally showed that fate actually does give you a choice. And it gives you a big choice. But you have to keep yourself receiving the same signal. If you don't want to, no wonder people didn't like the second or third ones that much, because it showed you that. And it basically did a 180 turn in the second and third ones to show you a completely different message than the first one did. But that was the whole point of the trilogy. It was to show that big beginning, the halt point of the character, because he couldn't move forward, because he couldn't take control. But the thing is, fate gives you that control. Because if you want to build yourself in any way, you have to understand that a lot of things do happen, but it means you have to take the embrace of what happens and bring something else into it. Give yourself up into it, as Neo did. Neo gave himself up to all the men there, so that it could all go away. Once you do that, that's really showing that you have control. That's control. Control is fate in a way. It's fate of yourself. It's not fate of somebody else or something else that's around you, that surrounds you or something, you know? Because a lot of people base it off of those impressions, like, oh, it must come from a religious institution or something like that. No, it doesn't. It comes from you. If something comes to you and you just call it fate and you want control over it, then it's not really yours. Because if all you want to do is control things, it's not yours to begin with. Especially if you can't, you know? And to use yourself to sandwich in the middle. A lot of people do that too. They put themselves in the middle of everything, as with recently, as I heard. Especially if as a great example that happened recently, it's that some people try to own friendships and say that I introduced you to this person. Okay, well, what do you want? You know, because literally that doesn't... I would never do that to somebody. Like, if somebody met somebody through me, no big deal. I would say, oh, let's hang out, let's have a good time, you know, and then they start getting along more and they want to go out. Oh, okay, totally cool, you know. I've got no problem with that, and I really don't. But if you try to let's say someone tries to sandwich the opposite way, meaning they try to see, hey, let's see if this guy has feelings for me. If he doesn't, I'll just move to the next one. Well, just move on to the next one. It's the old Johnny Depp quote. You know, and it's not a bad quote. It's actually a really true one. If you've loved two people, go with the second one. Because you made your choice at that point. You couldn't keep your standpoint on one person, so you should move to the next one. Because you fell in love with two people, and the second one, boom, there you go. And that is the truth, you know. With me, it's different. With me, there's been occasions where, in my last relationship, I gave an opportunity to hang out early on in the relationship, early on in the friendship even, I mean. And this was way before anybody else was involved. And no, I gotta know. See, and that's where a lot of things like putting everything on someone else's back. Like, you know, when people say, oh, I don't, you know, I've been hurt too much when I made the first step in a relationship, so I'm not gonna do that anymore. Well then, but not everybody's like that person. That's your psychology that you're making now, is that everybody else is just like the person that messed up with me. So I'm not gonna give them any chance. I mean, you're slapping everybody else in the face because of one person in your life that hurt you to death. But still, they're not in the same mind state as you, obviously, and they have a completely different thought of what a relationship is. That's the big difference. Like me, I wouldn't do that to somebody, no matter what happened in my previous relationship. Because to me, I could understand the difference between taking initiative with what happened. I mean, I'm more scared now because I took the harder way out. I didn't take the easy way out. And that's why it's easy to talk about this stuff, because it's damn hard. It's hard. It's hard to take the harder way out. But it's the only way, you know? It's the only way, especially if your emotions are that damn true. It's the only way to do things, because until somebody recognizes that they don't have to be responsible for your feelings, you can't really give them that guidance to say, oh, well, you don't have to be responsible for my feelings. They won't listen. They'll ignore that. But you can't change me to be something else. My feelings have always been outspoken. And sadly, a lot of people don't like that. Because they like people who are silent, conjective, assimilating, those kind of things. Because those qualities are a turn-on to a lot of people. I don't know how, but they are. They're a turn-on to people because it's like, oh, this person's assimilating. Ah, yes. You know? And it makes things easier, even though we've put down so many dictators in our history and life in general. We really like it. You know, we all really like it. We all like it when somebody's assimilating. You know, they're lessening. Yes. You know, and it's not even like the follower thing. Like with me, I want friendships that are based on the friendship, not based on whether I can control them or not. If they want to be there, then they should be there, not because, hey, you better be here. That doesn't matter. You want to be here. That's the big difference. And that's why, like, it's hard for many to use their real independence. That's why people do use labels, like follower, leader, you know. And you could use the race one. You could use anything. This is the boss, this is the manager, here we go with the crew member, that's why we have all these labels everywhere, and not even those kind of labels, Democrat, Republican, independent, supposedly independent, although, like with me, I'm none of the above. My party is Marcello. There you go. What party do I represent? Just Marcello, that's it. I can only represent myself. Nobody else will. Nobody else has so far, so clearly, and I wouldn't want somebody to, based on like donations or some other money or bullshit like that. Just trust me for being me, as I posted on my Facebook recently about, if there's one thing that I've learned, it's that you have to trust me based on my emotions. You can't trust me based on what my family says to you about yourself. I can give a fuck less. If I can fight them off, you can fight them off. If what I say is not more tolerable or more important than what somebody else has said, then it's not really worth it. I'm not worth it. That's why, I'm wrapped in razor wire by your birthday, be your birthday present for dinner. All of us get together. Wrapped in razor wire. Here you are, here I am, for your birthday. See, because that's the whole thing. You're unwrapping a real big gift. With razor wire around me, it means you gotta face it. It means when I break open, everything's out there. I'm bleeding already. You can't really have anything else more truthful than that. I'm bleeding to the brim. Because I want you to see me for who I am. I don't want you to see me for something else. Oh, let's see who this guy is. Oh, wait a minute, he has those right there. Well, then you don't need to see me around. I mean, literally, you've made your description of me. Oh, he does that. There you go. Your assuming has killed the relationship, living at home with parents seems to be a problem with many people. The thought of the people in relationships, how parents are defined to everyone individually, and that is true. A lot of people base their relationship off of the parents they meet of the other person, which may not be true. I can say, and I've learned this from many people, that we should not be parents like our family members were. We should notice their faults and go above them in that effect. Because a lot of people say their parents, we were raised good even if they weren't. Even if they weren't. And they do the same thing to their kids. Because, I'm going to define you off of what your parents have done. What your parents have said. Then you don't need to have me around. Just talk to my parents. I'll leave. I mean, in that effect, that's what you need. Yes, you can meet somebody else, but think of them just as you. Think of them just as a friend. Because that's as close as they are to my personality as they can be. And the fact is, my mom even admits this. That my feelings, emotions, sensitivities going in one direction, great thing. Go with it all the way. It don't matter if yes, you may have times where you have one-sided feelings. You've already done that. You may have times where you are going to be facing somebody who wants escape, who wants security. Don't go for it. Waste of time. But if you truly have feelings, don't say no. Do it. One-sided or anything, keep on going. Do what you can. Don't try to force anybody to have feelings for you, but if they literally, truly do, there will be no time where they say, well, I can't be with you because of this, that, the other. There won't be any buts in there. There'll be just love. Because that person will see the difference between what they can acknowledge in you with their love and what they can acknowledge in themselves. And if they can't, then they truly don't love you. And there you go. You've made your pot. You've lived in that. There you go. Just like a plant. It needs water. It needs sun. It needs rain. It needs dirt. It needs all of it. So sometimes it needs vitamins. So when you have that right effect, you need it all. Everybody needs it all. But sometimes a lot of people like the negative, and that's what I mean by, that's what this means too. When people are defined by their parents, that's a lot of negative thinking, because it's like, well, they must be just like their parents. Well, are they? Have they ever treated you, or is this a surprise to you how their parents are compared to how he is or how she is? Because if it's a surprise, that means they're not like their parents, and you're assuming they're hiding their personality. Explain to me how you know that. You don't. Now, if they are like their parents, and they're hiding it. Or they hide their control, that they're controlling. I mean, if you have to hide that you're controlling, I mean, why hide it? Is it a bad thing? I don't think it's a bad thing. I think you should always be honest about that kind of stuff because it brings something out. But if you define your character based on what you see of the parents in somebody else's life, or somebody else that's going to, an adult in somebody else's life, it doesn't necessarily mean the kids are going to be exactly the same. A lot of, like myself, I'm not going to be like my mom or grandma. I don't think they did the right things a lot of times, but I don't think my mom did the wrong things, because she actually taught me more about my emotions, feelings, and nurturing qualities than anybody else, to go with it all the time. Fuck what everybody says about keeping your emotions inside. Here you are. I'm going to bleed them out to your heart. I want you to see it, not hide from it. I'm a fucking molded vice grip. And you're like, this is what I like for you. That's the problem right there. You know? That's the problem a lot of times right there, is that this is what I like for you. People like to define things because they make you a thing. Oh, this person is like this. I like this for you. Well, you just said I like this for you. You didn't say a person. You just said I like this kind of thing for you. That's not really saying that that's the right kind of thing for me. It means that you're defining something based on an exterior quality or quality in general. There's a lot of things that define that, but it doesn't mean it's not true. It just means that if you can't see me for other than a thing, there's a problem. You know, I'm the last person you want to look at if you want time. If you want time to be on your side, to see the problems as the same as yours. There you go. The problems are all the same. But the thing is, a lot of people say, oh no, the problem isn't the same. We're completely different people. Well, technically we are, but we're not really. A lot of people just try to assimilate the idea that we're all different. But the thing is, we're not that much different anymore. Especially if you're able to say what I said earlier, to find followers, to find people to assimilate. I mean, and to be controlling. Those are qualities that are found a lot now. You know, they're found a lot. So when people say, "Oh, we're all different," well, we're only different if we want to be. We're only different if we accept the person we are inside. Then we are different. But if we don't, and if we keep on kind of being that kind of like wild one, or just trying to just have the wild thing inside of us, we just try to, you know, rain on anybody else's parade and try to say we're the only different ones. I mean, if we need to define ourselves as different, we're not that different. We're different if we don't need to even say it. There's no need to establish if we're different, if we are. You know, and it's the idea of keeping yourself primed and ready. That's what real, you know, that's what I mean by the vice grip. But it means that nobody else can say, this is what I like for you. Nobody needs to say that. I don't even need to say that. Because maybe it's not what it's like for me. Because a lot of people live in their own psychological mind and say that hey, that reminds me of this thing. But I'm thinking about Roger Rabbit. And they're thinking about Betty Boop. Or whatever, I don't know. They're thinking about something else completely. And they try to establish it as the same, but it's different. And it's not different in a bad way, like, oh, well, you know, that's it. And asking someone something over and over again only works if they are hiding something. People do stumble over truth and will just stumble over it thinking it's a lie. You know, that's why, like, if somebody keeps on asking me, what are your feelings about me? Why do you have feelings for me that way? Why do you have feelings for me that way? I think about that, and I'm like, you know, I've made my answer clear before. It wasn't a phase. You know, it wasn't something that I did because I was just hanging out with you a lot. So, to push that in the middle of me means that you don't want to know the truth. Means that you want to have something change. But nothing will change. You may, you know, and it comes back to a lot of my friendships from the past in general. Where people tried to make that change, tries to keep on asking the questions, or became hard asses about it and called me names. Have a good life, you know. I'm not trying to tell you what to do. If that makes me an asshole, good. God, I'm such an asshole. I don't want to control people. Man, what an asshole I must be. God, I don't want to control people. Man, what a fucking asshole I am. I don't want to step on anybody's ground. Oh my God, what an asshole. Why do you have to make me look bad? And that's what it comes down to. I'm making you look bad. Because you want to treat everybody, you want to control everybody. And because I don't, I'm a bad person because I want to treat people equally. Oh my God, you can't do that now. You can't make me look bad, worse than I am. But you are worse than you are. Because you think it's good to be that way. So, like, if somebody asks me that and think I'm hiding something, people do stumble over the truth, too. A lot of times you can't reveal the truth because it's the truth. And it's not because, oh, you have to hide it or something, but it's because if somebody's asking over and over again in that very selfish grip way, like gripping it, it means that they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want the truth. I can't tell you a lie. You know, and that's where you lose a lot of, you know, it's not even reputation at that point. It's that you can't tolerate somebody being themselves with you. Then if I can't be myself with you, it's kind of a bad friendship. I'm out of here. You know, and there is no progress, only change. You know, when people say we have so much progress in the world, no, we don't. We just change. This ain't progress. This certainly is not progress. We don't even like talking, interacting with people. So how much progress can we have if we have to ignore somebody and look at our cell phone? Let me get my answer from somebody else. I'm not going to talk to you directly because I can't do that. Finding balance with the wrong things. What your goals say about your balance is all things can come. Balance cannot come through what you know, but what you want to know. That I agree with. I do think a lot of people find balance with the wrong things, though. And I think it is up to them. I'm not saying that, oh, it's a wrong thing. No, I'm saying that a lot of people use that negativity as good things. And that's why a lot of people use abusive relationships and so-called, oh, you know, I don't want to end up on Maury, I shouldn't be in relationships, because a lot of people who are get into bad things. Well, it's because they look at that negative value. They look at them being mistreated as a good thing. Because a lot of people were taught to mistreat themselves from their parents, like saying the bad things about them all the time they were growing up. So a lot of times when they get into negative relationships because it's the only way they feel better about themselves. It's the only way they can verify what they've been told all their lives. Not by everybody, but certainly by the people most influential to their life. See, because that's why a lot of my friendships died too, because someone else was more influential in those previous friends' lives. I wasn't that influential. So it wasn't about me ending up with a person. Like, let's say if I had feelings for somebody, it's not even about me getting that person. But if I'm not influential in any way, fuck the feelings at that point. But if I'm not influential in any way, not about admiration, but if nothing brings you out more with me, then it's a fake friendship. You know, and especially if you've hidden those qualities right away. The fake friendship started from the beginning. And you hid that for no reason. For no apparent reason, you hid that quality of yourself. Well, you don't need me around then. Because you need people who will accept that right away. But you need to also establish that right away and say, this is what I like. Nobody else can tell me that. If somebody else does, I'm not going to believe them until you tell me. Then I'll understand and I'll say, oh, I totally get it. No one else can tell me that. When you get in my face, you better realize you're getting in my face, not somebody else getting me in my face about you. Here we go. Arguments are made to solve problems, not bolster egos. So if you start an argument with me to solve a problem, it works. We do and will. Though if you come to boast your ego, you will, when I have no ego or pride to use and divide. See, because pride and ego and all that stuff, they're towards the door. They don't need to come in here, you know. Meaning that, yes, you can build up your ego all you want, but eventually you're going to be gone from my life, so it won't matter. You know, build up your ego, but your ego is only going to close the friendship off even further. Like, I don't need a person like that to be around. You know, I'm not saying that like putting you down, throwing you in your face. No, but if I was somebody who boasted my ego, totally understand. I'd be there too, you know, throwing it in your face, but I don't. I may be in the minority, but it goes back to my Marcello introduction here on YouTube, that I want to be represented for, just like everybody else. But I'm not going to be represented for by the majority. Haven't been for 26 years, so maybe that's why I don't vote, because I don't feel represented for. So for somebody to throw in my face like, oh, you should because, you got to go out and, put your voice out in there. Yeah, but my voice is out. It's out in the world right now. Here, today. Been here since 26 years now. It's been out in the world for a very long time. Hasn't changed anything. But I'm not going to stop just because it hasn't changed anything. Any day it could be different. And I'm not living in the hope of it. I'm living in the instruct decision to be like this. That's why with me, arguments are made to solve problems. But most of the time, a lot of people use it just to boast their egos or for greed and power. And that creates the greed and power solution. A lot of people say that's the solution right there. And that's why a lot of people say, like, doing the work for others just to hold it over others. I could give a good example with my grandma. But the point is, when you do something for somebody, instead of asking them to clean it, commenting on them doing it and just pushing it at them, not a fan of that. If there's a problem, tell me to clean it. Don't do it to hold it in. Don't do it to hold it over me. Because a lot of people do that. Like, they love doing that. They love doing the work, holding it over you the whole lifetime. Well, then why'd you do it? Well, you did it for yourself. You did it selfishly. If you're doing work selfishly, there you go. There's your problem. You're never going to feel good about anything in your daily life. Because you've done things selfishly your entire life. Because you wanted other people to do it. But nobody's going to do something for you if you're just doing it selfishly. If you want to do it because you want to actually get something accomplished, totally understandable. But a lot of people, like I said, they think good is bad and bad is good. So when somebody does something selfishly, oh, they love themselves. No, they don't. They hate themselves. If somebody's doing something selfishly for their ego, or starting an argument based on ego, they're not doing it because they love themselves. Well, I love myself so much, I'm going to be selfish about this and hold it over somebody else. Hey, that person must love themselves right there. No, they don't. They don't love themselves, and they want to hold it over somebody else because they don't want to be responsible for what they're doing. They want somebody else to think of something the way they do so that they'll become like them. But that's the failure. It never happens. It doesn't happen with me. And that's where a lot of people, when I go back to the parenting thing, if you think I'm like my parents, if you want to establish me, define me by how my parents act, you lost me completely, because I would never do that to you. I wouldn't do work selfishly and say, oh, why didn't you do that? I had to do it for you. No, you had to do it for yourself. If I want to do work, I do it for me. I don't do it because, oh, well, this person didn't do the work, so I guess I have to. That's not my first thought. My first thought is, yep, work to do. But until I can do all the work, I don't feel responsible enough. And another thing is, I don't feel like it's enough. Because I feel like it's just a dead end. Because that'll be all I do. Like, if I wash dishes only at the house, that's all I could ever do. I can't do anything else. I can't clean up the whole house. Not to say my own way. But I can't clean up the whole house so that the other person will be happy in there. That at least they won't have to do so much work, and it'll be pretty clean and decent. That's how I feel. I feel that it's something that you have to give to somebody else, and you give yourself a lot more. Because you're cleaning it up for the person there, but you clean it up for yourself. There's no de-establishment from that. That's why a lot of people say, like, oh, if you live with your parents, you're not going to get a good relationship. Then I don't want a relationship then. Because if somebody's not going to respect my parents for who they are, not to think that I'm going to be like my parent. You can throw it in my face all you want, but if you really think I'm going to be like my parent just because I have certain qualities, I have sprinkles of everybody I've ever known in my life in me. Sprinkles of everyone. So you go back to all my other friends and you tell them that. Why I have the sprinkles of everyone. Because they're not here anymore. How can I remember anybody? I can't. Because they had to run to the ambulance. They had to run to the emergency room. Because they couldn't handle me being myself and not being threatened by my family. But you are. You're threatened by the people. You're threatened by the people. You're asking to be controlling. You're asking for me to be a follower. You're asking for all this. When did I ever ask that of you? When did I ever say, you're like your mom, you're like your dad, you're like your grandpa, you're like your grandma? When did I ever do that? You're like your brother, you're like your sister. Nope, didn't do that. Which means your arrogance has now drowned every single way you could have me in your life. Because you took the responsibility of being yourself and Sid, it's not enough. It's not enough to be myself. I have to be in control of everything. I have to have the whip hand. The whip hand is dead, in your arms. You're a satellite dish ready to explode. So when somebody tries to instigate that kind of fear in a person, you know, bringing them down because they don't want to face themselves, they're dead. They don't need to be in this space anymore. You know, when I ask for somebody to be in my life, I'm not asking them to take control of it. Because I've been this way for a long time. I've been writing poetry, I've been writing my novels, I've been writing my short stories, one-pagers to novels now, since I was a kid. So to tell me, Marcello, you must stop doing that. Oh, well, I'm sorry, I take breaks, because I know the responsibility of balancing the relationship I have with what I love to do. With my passions, with the passion of my relationship, with the passion of what I do every day, with the passion of my writing, my running, everything else. You have to give a balance to it. That establishes the kind of connection me and you can have fruitfully. But it's not going to happen unless you accept the passions that I already have. I don't think I'm that responsible for the people, for my family. And I'm not saying that in that way of like I can't be responsible for them. No. It means that the only things I have to be responsible for are very meager things. Sending an email, doing things like that. So to say that kind of haunts or takes away from our relationship shows that you want total control to the point where I don't help my family at all. Let me ask you, do you? Do you help your family at all? And when I hold it over your head that you go to your grandmother's house or mother's house and say, help them clean up the house a little bit. Hey, don't do that today. It's about me today. Wouldn't do that. We make a day. Create it. Have the abundance of every love, of every passion, built and scrutinized for ourselves. Nothing else. Nobody else's impact will take a mark out of the love that we have. And that's where the whole device yearning comes from. Like, I yearn. I don't yearn. I want somebody to be with me because they want to. That's the big thing. It's not a neediness. If it was a neediness, you may learn to love, but you certainly don't just love. I just love. And I apologize for that. I apologize for not wanting to be controlling. You know? I apologize for not thinking that aliens would just come down and kill us. But I think if we think they're higher beings, which it doesn't necessarily mean that's true, but to say that nothing has happened yet, and to say they will do the same exact thing as we do, that's stupidity right there. That's your reign of insecticide, of wanting to kill anything that moves. That's not aliens thinking that way. That's us thinking that way. I'm not saying they're higher beings or not, but you're establishing what they can be. They can't, you know, every species is different here on Earth. So why would the species out there be just like us? For some reason they'd be like us? I wouldn't expect that. I'm not saying that shouldn't be an expectation at all, but to already bring forthright that they would be shows how you got your head up your asses already. And you got your asses handed to you already. To not accept anything new and different. There you go. You don't. You don't accept anything new and different. That's why we're having a democracy again. Because you don't accept anything new and different. Anything new and different? Oh, that's fascism. You know, you just label it what's been done before that's failed. Or that we destroyed. So to make everything else look bad, that's a different idea where there's an open box and an open mind. Oh, no, none of that stuff. That leads to socialism. When in fact, none of that has actually led to socialism. That's just an idea. An idea is a threat to any system. Especially a system that keeps on failing, like democracy. But it's okay. Hey, you know, if we want to live in hope, go ahead. I don't live in hope. I threw hope in the trash can a long time ago. Just love. Not the kind of love where it's just sex. So it's hard for many to use their real independence. It's true. You know, sadly, it's true. You know, it's part of our society to use labels like fate, destiny, hope. I mean, those are great things to hold on to for a lot of people. But fate has a ton of responsibility. It does. You have control over it. But you have control over it if you think you do. Not just because, oh, well, I don't like fate because there's no control over it. You're going to die soon anyway, so don't worry about it. You don't have to worry, because if you really think you don't have control over it, you don't have control over yourself then. So don't worry about it. You know, destiny, those kind of things, that's fine. You know, if you want to think a certain way about stuff, you've already split the line. You know, you've already cut the apple. You know, you don't need to worry about it. You know, you can't attach an apple back to its two halves if you've already cut it. Which isn't a bad thing. You should accept the responsibility of that being cut and move forward with it. You know, that's why I'm wrapped in razor wire and put to your birthday cake. Here. I'm here for your birthday. Wrapped in razor wire. Just unwrap me. I'm your present. Living at home with your parents, though. I love it. Because a lot of people define the person they're with based on their parents. I can tell you that I have qualities from my grandma, my mom, my brother, my dogs, my cat, everything. But that's not all. I got qualities from every book that I've read, all the music I've listened to, every single thing. Every damn thing I've written, everything I've been involved with, the paranormal group, my Pink Cloud radio, everything that I've done, I've had influence from, and to. So there's nothing left to blow out. If you're going to blow out a relationship based on, oh, well, I'm going to define you by what your parents have just said about me, yeah, but that's them. Their quality of life is completely different than how I am. And if I'm treating you like they are, then there's a problem. If I haven't, then you've got a problem with thinking that I will. You're afraid. You're making a sudden conclusion. You're assuming at that point. You're assuming I'm going to be the same. Oh no, he can't treat me any different because his parents just brought up this, or his grandmother just brought up this. Then you don't trust me. You didn't. All you needed was my grandmother or my mom to say something like that to not trust me anymore. Well, then there's no trust. You never had that trust then. If you can't latch on, I'm not talking about latching on because you now latched on to what they said about me. About you. But I never said that about you, did I? There you go. Conclusion in the Warthog. You've now taken what somebody else has said and said I've said it. Nope. Nope. So have good fun with that, because that's what you're doing. You're making a snapshot of something I would never do to you. There you go. You're making a snapshot of something I would never place in you. Because that's not how I think of you. Sorry if I don't. You know, I apologize for not coming out like my parents. I apologize for not coming out like my grandmother. I apologize so much, but it's not going to change, is it? Because you can't see the difference between right and wrong. And what I am today is all I am. I'm not them or that thought of what they say about you. If you can't trust my emotions, feelings, sensitivities in one direction, then even our friendship can't be true. Like I said, I'm the last person you want to look at. If you want time to be on your side, to see the problems is the same as yours. It doesn't take time to see the problems. It takes an understanding to know that there are no problems. That the problem is that you need time to see the problem. I'm a fucking molded vice grip, and you're like, this is what I like for you. But you're Anastasia wanting the possession of it. You know, when you ask something over and over again, and I stumble over it, oh, well, he must be lying. No, I'm telling the truth so much, I can't say it anymore. How many more times do I need to say it? I've said it. There is no progress, only change. You know? Finding balance with the wrong things, as I said. You can. In a lot of ways. Arguments made to solve problems. You're damn right they are. doing the work for others to hold it over their heads. And that is the truth. But I won't hold anything over your heads. Even anything I've spoken about right now, it's not about holding it over your head. It's about loving you till I'm dead. It's about understanding that the difference between what we can have and what we will have doesn't matter. It's just love. Love. See you. Love.